there was more written about the so-called outside move in NVIDIA than I've read about any chart in a long time. Here's my problem. I did a piece this weekend for the Investing Club. It's difficult to value NVIDIA. I mean, it might turn out to be that the PE is much lower than people realize. People don't know what NVIDIA does. That hurts it. We all know what Apple does. We all know what Microsoft does. So when it got to the rarefied area, I think a lot of people just said, who are these guys? It was like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, not just because of Western metaphor. Who are these guys? And so I kind of look at it and I say the market is turned on the idea that there could be somebody that could pass Apple and Microsoft. It was almost like there were heat-seeking missiles the moment it got past Microsoft. So now everyone's possessed with the idea it's the top. And given the fact that there are only a couple stocks that continue to provide all the upside, I think people just say, well, that's the one we got to take out and shoot. And I say let it come down. I like NVIDIA. I'm the same thing. I own it, don't trade it. Nothing's changed for me since, I don't know, about $30. But I do recognize that the long knives are out because people just don't think it can possibly be worth more than Microsoft.
12% off the highs,
right.
The record highs. Would you be surprised to see that get much larger?
I think that we have Micron later this week. I think that Micron's going to show an incredible number. And I think that that's going to make it so people say, well, wait a second. How can they have an incredible number without NVIDIA moving higher? And Micron, 2 recommendations today. Now, look, I think Micron's going to have a very big number, and they've got this high bandwidth memory that really does matter. The HBM is what everyone's excited about. If you report on the 26 and you don't get hit, which is just incredible after the stock's moving up this morning, then I think people say, wait a second, we got to go back. So I wouldn't be surprised if NVIDIA, despite the fact that people feel it's like the Grand Teton, which has the biggest head and shoulder pattern I've ever seen. Now, if David were here, I would say, listen, if you want to know what it looks like, just go to the Grand Teton. It's okay. You'll see what it means like. But, yeah, the bearish engulfing. I mean, I'm looking at Grand Teton and I'm saying, NVIDIA. Oh, boy. That'll be like a long slide down. It's dangerous stock, dangerous mountain. 5.5 NVIDIA. I mean, enough. I mean, okay. It's going down a little. It had the greatest run I've ever seen.
Yes.
Greatest run in the history of the stock market.
Yes.
Greatest run.
Well, two-month gain of 80+%.
Yeah.
As I've said recently, I would not at all be surprised to see some softness in NVIDIA's price action in the short term lasting into mid to late July. Of course, I don't know what the future holds, and I could be completely wrong. That being said, let's cover what's going on with NVIDIA right now. First, we have the overall market trading near all-time highs and now ripe for a pullback at any moment. As I've pointed out in previous videos, NVIDIA stock is also very overbought and ripe for a pullback. Many large firms and fund managers are likely to be rebalancing their holdings, and while NVIDIA is near all-time highs, they are likely to be taking some profits and moving that capital to other opportunities that haven't been receiving as much attention as NVIDIA has been recently. And as I mentioned in my last video on NVIDIA, following NVIDIA's February earnings release, the stock reached a relative low approximately 2 months later. Of course, patterns tend to repeat themselves, but they do not have to. If this pattern were to repeat itself, then we could expect softness in NVIDIA's price action lasting sometime until mid to late July, and then likely pre-anticipatory running in NVIDIA in August as we get closer to NVIDIA's next earnings report. This week, we do have NVIDIA's annual meeting of stockholders on Wednesday, July 26th at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. Could NVIDIA reveal something unexpected at the meeting? Possibly. But typically, annual stockholder meetings are not when companies announce big news, so I would be surprised if the company made any notable announcements at the meeting. Following the annual stockholder meeting, I'm not aware of any other events prior to NVIDIA's next earnings release, which will most likely be released sometime around August 21st. So let's summarize what I'm thinking when it comes to NVIDIA right now. In the short term, I would not be surprised to see some softening and some chop in NVIDIA's price action lasting into mid to late July. Once we enter August, I think more people will start paying attention to NVIDIA again as the company's next earnings release gets closer. Looking out to the end of the year, if NVIDIA reports both great earnings and strong forward-looking guidance in the next couple earnings reports, then I think the stock still has room to run. Of course, we have to keep an eye on the overall market though, because if the overall market pulls back, then it will likely pull NVIDIA back with it, or at the very least weigh down on NVIDIA. I think that NVIDIA has a lot of potential over the next few years as they release new generations of their products. The company should start to realize some revenue from Blackwell, their latest generation of chips, this year. And right now, the largest corporations in the world are practically waiting at NVIDIA's doorstep for the latest release of their products. It does concern me that company insiders, including President and CEO Jensen Huang, have been selling large amounts of shares recently. The last time Jensen sold large quantities of shares like this was back in September of 2023. That being said, NVIDIA has been trading at all-time highs recently, so perhaps they just want to lock in some gains. I'm curious to know your thoughts on NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.